So let me share my screen. Okay, I'll just quickly give a quick recap. Okay, what we discussed about the Azure load balancer. Then we'll get into the application gateway. So we have seen, right, Azure load balancer. Okay, what is the concept with Azure load balancer? So which majorly works on a OSI layer 4. So I think we haven't discussed much about the OSI layers. So probably you can just go through it. Typically, okay, on a networking we have a different layers. So this particular specific load balancer we works on a OSI layer 4. So let me quickly show you that here. You can just simply say network layers. Okay, so here you could see. So these are the different networking layers that we have. Okay, so we have a physical layer. Okay, so data link, network, and a transport layer. This is the layer 4. So this particular load balancer will work on this particular transport layer. And typically we have a session, presentation and application. So that thing which I'm going to talk about, application gateway is works on an application layer. Okay, so probably if you wanted to go know in detail much, so you can go through other additional things here. Not this one. Try to open a different window. Yeah, so here you could see, so these are the different OSI layers and their best examples here. Okay, so try to remember these two layers, layer 4 and the application layer, because the concept which we are going to discuss about load balancing will works on these two. Load balancer will works on layer 4. So this is the layer 4. It's a transmission control protocol, that is TCP protocol. So we have seen, right, okay, how to set up these TCP protocols like port 80 and other things. And application gateway we works on layer 7. Okay, this is the layer 7, so which is a user for the web application. So let me come back here. Yeah, this load balancer, specific load balancer works on a OSI layer 4, that is TCP or UDP. UDP is nothing but a user defined protocol. So which relies on a specific health probes. We have seen, right, okay, how to create a health probe on which port, and so we will be specifying certain intervals. Okay, for next 5 seconds. Okay, if it is not responding for two, if you get two consecutive failures, traffic has to be routed to the another server. So that kind of health probe we have defined for the backend pools, and it distributes the load according to the load balancing rules. Okay, we have seen how to set up the load balancing rules also. If at all, if you wanted to access this particular application which is hosted on this particular backend pools, will be accessing using the load balancer front-end IP. Okay, so we have seen a different public IP and internal public load balancer as well as internal load balancer, and then we have seen load balancer SKUs, that is basic and standard, which is very important. Okay, so SKUs are not mutable. Not mutable is nothing but like we cannot change it once that they are created. Okay. Okay, once you create a basic load balancer, you cannot change it to the standard. But once you create a standard, you cannot change it to the basic. So that is about it. And we have seen how to create a backend pools. And when you go with the basic, I think it is 300. Earlier it was 100, but recent, okay, they made it 300. As a backend pool, we can add up to 300 virtual machine in case of basic load balancer. But when in case of standard, we can add it up to 1000. Okay, so these are some of the load balancing rules. Okay, we have seen how to create it. And which we have seen session persistence, like I have given some example if you remember. So let's say, for example, when I access this application, if my traffic is routed to the VM1, okay, and that application has some form to fill. So while filling my form, okay, so let's see if it has some 20 lines. So after filling 10 lines, okay, if this particular server not responding and if my traffic is routed to the another server, that whatever the form I have filled, right, okay, it has to be appear in the another server also. That is called, okay, that kind of features, okay, we can enable in this particular session persistence. Okay. And we have seen how to create a health probes. Okay, and we have seen some of the practices, okay, demos for the load balancer. So today I'm going to discuss about the additional concept called application gateway. Okay, so this application gateway works on a OSI layer 7, that is like web application layer. So here also same thing. Okay, so first, okay, as a front end, okay, you will be having a front end IP, and in the back end, okay, you will be having a same backend server pools. So here, okay, in addition to load balancer, in case of application gateway, okay, we can add web apps, IP addresses also as a backend pool, but which is not possible in case of load balancer. So in case of load balancer as a backend pool, we will be allowed to add only VMs or VMSs, that is virtual machine scale set. So here you could see the components which includes front-end IP configuration. So this is the front-end IP. If at all, if you wanted to access your application, we'll be using this particular front-end IP and backend server pools. So this is the backend server pools that we add. And here, okay, we'll add certain listeners. So in case of load balancer, what we have seen, okay, we have seen like creating a health probe and creating a load balancing rules, right? Similarly here, when you try to access your application by using your front-end IP, okay, how the traffic has to be routed to your backend pools, what type of rules, okay, and what protocol, those things, okay, we are going to define in this particular listener. Okay, so here you could see this listener includes, just a second, guys. So which includes like front end port, certain protocols and HSL certificate also. And the major advantage of this particular application gateway is WAF, that is web application firewall. Okay, we'll discuss about what is this firewall also, what is this web application firewall, and what is the importance of it. So these are the typical components, okay, which has the application gateway. And moving ahead, let's discuss about this particular WAF. So let's say when you try to access your web application, okay, by using this particular application gateway, we can have an additional configuration called WAF, that is web application firewall. So which provides the protection for the backend server workloads, which protects against common cyber threats. Let's say, for example, when you try to access any website, okay, in the internet, okay, you might find many hackers, right? So they will be trying to hack your web application and they will demand huge amount of money. Okay, to not to happen such a incidents, okay, so we can have this particular WAF wherein it will provide the protection, okay, from a SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and some other additional things. Okay, so these are like some of the security threats, okay, from which, okay, so this particular WAF will provide the protection, and which works on this particular OWAPs. We call it as a OWAPs. OWAP is nothing but open source, uh, uh, I think it is just a second. It's a separate company. Okay, so wherein, okay, they will be working on this particular specific, uh, security models. Okay, so here you could see Open Web Application Security Protocol. Okay, OAups is nothing but Open Web Application Security Protocols. So here, okay, they have certain, security protocols. Okay, so this particular WAF, okay, will work on this particular OAups rules. Okay, so which protects your web application from a certain kind of cyber threats, okay, that is SQL injection and cross-site scripting, and which also allows disabling the rules that result in a false positive. That means, okay, we can uh, okay, we can restrict the certain traffic, okay, not to access into your web application. Let's say, for example, if you wanted to block certain IP, or if you wanted to certain you know uh, reason IPs, okay, we can block, okay, by using this particular WAP. So which that way we can protect, provides additional security for your backend pool application. Yes, similarly, okay, we can also create a health probe here. Okay, so by default, okay, so these are the on which protocol, okay, you need to access this particular application gateway. Here also we can create the health probes, so which we have seen already. And sizing, coming back to the sizing, okay, in case of load balancer, we have seen basic and standard, right? That is queues. So here, okay, we have a like a small, medium, and large. So small will be used for the in a dev and testing environment, but medium and large will be used for the some production and DR environments. So here you could see there bandwidths and certain addition things. And the additional main benefit of this using this application gateway is, so here we can route the traffic on a path basis. Okay, let's say, for example, if I have a website called contester.com, okay, I can route the traffic on a path basis. Let's say contester.com/images, contester.com/videos. Okay, so let's say this particular website related images I have in this particular servers. So by default, okay, instead of routing the traffic to the other servers, I can route the traffic on path basis also. This is a major advantage of having this particular application gateway. So once again, I'm repeating, by using application gateway, so we can route the traffic on a path basis. Okay, so you can have a multiple backend pools like this. So here you could see directs the traffic based on the target URL. Okay, so this is the targeted URL. Let's say contester.com/images, contester.com/videos. And when you say slash images, to one backend pool, to this backend pool. And when you say videos, okay, to this another backend pool. And we can also specify by using certain uh, kind of patterns like this. Okay, when you keep a star, that means okay, images are slash star, the image name could be anything, and by default it will route the traffic to the this particular backend pool servers. Okay, so that is about the path based routing and multiple site hosting also. So on this particular application gateway, we can have a multiple backend pools and having a multiple websites. Let's say for example, I can have a two here you could see, okay, so as an example, I could see two websites, that is Contessa.com and Fabricon.com. So for Contessa.com, I have one backend pool of servers. That means this particular Contessa.com was hosted on this particular two VMs. Similarly, Fabricon.com was hosted on this particular three VMs. Okay, so to route the traffic, okay, to this particular backend pools, okay, I can create a certain respective listeners, that is rules. Same with the fabricum.com. So the same application gateway, I can use it up to 20 website. That means I can have up to 20 backend pools here, and I can use up to 20 websites. Okay, to implement this, okay, we need to have these rules. uh, Two backend pools we need to have. Okay, two listeners we need to have. Likewise, okay, if you are creating a 220 website, okay, you need to have a 20 backend pools, 20 listeners, and 20 routing rules. Okay, and secure socket layer, that is SSL. Okay, offloading. Let's say for example, if you try to access some website, right? Let's say for example, this website has certain this website is running on which protocol? If I have a lock symbol, okay, that means okay, which protocol it is? HTTP protocol, HTTPS protocol, that is 443, right? Okay, when you have a certificate, okay, so that will be like it is like a HTTPS, Ritika, not HTTP, because okay, if you have a certificate here, it is like HTTPS. If you don't have any certificate, that is HTTP. So now let's say for example, if your incoming traffic is coming on HTTPS, okay, having a certificate, and if you wanted to route the traffic to your backend pools on HTTP, that means let me open a notepad so that you will understand better. Let's say okay, my incoming traffic is coming on a HTTPS port. HTTPS protocol. What is the port number of HTTPS? 443, right? So now this topic, if at all, if I wanted to convert to not secured, okay, that is STP. What is the port number of STP?
80.
80. So if my incoming traffic is STPS, okay, that is secured traffic, and if I wanted to convert into the non-secure traffic, that is STP, I can also do that, okay, by using this particular SSL offloading. Okay, SSL is nothing but secure socket layer. Okay, so if you have a certificate like this, okay, that is SSL. This is the SSL certificate, secure socket layer. Okay, this is the certificate. So let's come back here. So we can achieve it, okay, by using this particular secure socket layer offloading also. My incoming traffic would be HTTPS, and backend traffic I can convert into the HTTP traffic. Okay, so here you could see provides SSL termination at the gateway. So eliminates the performance impact of a decryption of on the backend pool VMs. Decryption, that means okay, it will remove the SSL and requires uploading certificates and binding it to the appropriate listeners. And redirection and session affinity the similar way. Okay, like we have say we discussed about the session affinity yesterday. So okay, we can have a cookie based session affinity, or else maybe we can have certain certain catching redis catch databases, okay, wherein to have this particular kind of setup. Okay, let's say for example, I'll give you one more example once again, because most of the people were absent last week. Let's say for example, I'm using the website called contoso.com. Okay, so under this contoso.com, let's say this is like it's a UI, okay, wherein users will go ahead and fill certain application. Okay, so it has a multiple options. Let's say for example, it has up to 20 lines of the options, like a name, address, age, and qualification, and so and so extra. Let's say when you're filling this particular form, after filling some 10 options, okay, let's say after filling the 10 options, okay, uh, let's say after filling 10 options, okay, your server got rebooted. Okay, I think somebody is waiting. Just a second. Okay, I'll come back here. Okay, after filling certain 10 options, okay, your server got rebooted and your traffic is routed to the another server. So when your traffic routed to the another server, okay, your application has to be, whatever the options you filled it, right? Okay, that option has to be appeared. Okay, so that we can achieve it if we're using this particular session affinity, that is we can have a cookies based is nothing but, let's say for example, if I go here, if I open my new window and if I say portal po, that is portal.azure.com, by default that particular url is coming because it is stored as a cookie. Okay, so on my browser, okay, that is cookies based affinity. So by default, okay, it will be appeared. Okay, so that is kind of cookies based authentication we can have. And okay, let me quickly go back and have some demo for the application gateway. Shravanti, can you hear us? I think she is not accepted the audio. Okay, so let her rejoin. Okay, so let me come back here. So let me try to create an application gateway. So let's say I'll go here. I'll say application gateway. So this is an application gateway. Okay, so these are the different type of load balancing services, okay, which we have on Azure. So we discussed about the load balancer. So now we are discussing about the application gateway. Okay, so we'll also discuss about the topic manager and friendo. So quickly go back and create this particular application gateway now. So here you could see application gateway gives you application level routing and load balancing services that you build scalable and highly available web front and in Azure. Let me create an application gateway here. So whenever you see a word called gateway, so to create any gateways on Azure, okay, it needs separate dedicated subnet, and at the same time it takes some time to create a gateway. Okay, so here I'm creating an application gateway here. So let's say I'll create a new resource group altogether. I'll just name it as application gateway Archie. Okay, I'll say okay. And now, so let me give some name here. I'll say test application gateway. Okay, so the name is accepted, and I wanted to host it in ES2S. Okay, and this is the tiers. Okay, so based on the tiers, okay, so you can choose it. Let's say if you wanted to enable a WAF, that is web application firewall. Okay, you can go ahead and create a WAF also. So for now, let's go with the sample one, that is standard version 2. So based on these tiers, okay, the incoming bandwidth and rest of the things will be calculated. And let's go with the enabling auto scaling. Okay, so let's say when the traffic is routed, okay, by default based on the traffic, okay, so this particular application gateway will be running in the backend some server that will be managed by Azure. So based on that, okay, the auto scaling will happen. So I'll come back to this point later, so let's forget about it now. So if you do not want it, you can just simply leave it. So by default, you could say instant count as a 2. That means, okay, in the backend it will create 2 VMs, and top up to these VMs, okay, this particular gateway will work. So let's go with the default. And if at all, if you wanted to keep this into availability zones, you can choose it. So based on the region, okay, this availability zones option will be coming. Okay, and here you need to choose a specific network. So let me go ahead and create a one network here. So here you could see, I'll say application gateway VNet, I'll name it. Okay, and here it has taken a default IP. Let's say I don't want a 16. Let me go with the 24. So here, okay, let me create one subnet. I'll just name it as uh, application gateway subnet, and it should have a IP that is 10.2.0.0/27. I will give. Okay, and let me create one more subnet also, because I'm going to use the same VNet for creating certain VMs also. Let's say VM subnet. I'll name it as. Okay, so here, okay, 10.2.0. What is the IP I should enter here? Can somebody tell me? It has taken 27. That means up to 31 IPs. What will be the IP here? I can take 32, because okay, till 31 IPs, okay, it is taken. So I need to start from a 32, and let me say okay. So by default, if you see, it has taken a application gateway subnet. So If at all, if you wanted to create this particular application gateway also, you need to have a subnet, and name should be anything. And this is about on a basic. And let me quickly create a front end IP. So here, okay, I'll create one IP and I'll just name it as application gateway public IP. I'll say okay. Okay, and I'll go to the backends. So here, okay, I can add a backend pool right now. So since I haven't created anything, okay, I'm not adding anything. So maybe I'll do it later. I'll go to the configuration. So application gateway needs at least one valid backend pool. Okay, let me go to the backends. So let me try to add backend pool. Let's say I'll just simply name it as application gateway backend pool. So here I could see as a backend pool, here I can add give a IP. That means if you have a VMs, you can give the VM IP or FQDN, that is fully qualified domain name. I can add the VMs, I can add the VMSs, I can add the app services also. That means you can add the web apps. So for now, I'm not adding anything. I'll just simply create an app. But as a target, I haven't added anything. I'll do it later point of time. Let me go to the configuration now. So this is the listener rules, okay, that we are going to add it. Here I have a front end and here I have my backend. So I haven't added any VMs on here. We can add VMs or web apps, whatever it is as a backend pool. So when I try to access this application using this IP, how the traffic has to be routed. So here I'm going to create certain routing rules now. That is, we call it as a listeners. Let me add it here. So here you could see, I need to say rule name. I'll say application gateway rule. Okay, listener name also I'll name it as application gateway listener. Okay, and I need to choose the front end IP. So this is a public IP which is created as a front end IP. So here it is. And the traffic should be coming on a STP or STPS. Okay, that you need to choose it. So if it is HTTPS, okay, you need to upload the certificate. Okay, so since we do not have any HTTPS or certificate setup, I'm going with a basic STP and the port number is 80. Okay, so listener type, okay, here you could see basic or a multi-site. So we discussed, right? Okay, we can route the traffic on a multi-site also. So if you wanted to go with a multi-site, okay, you need to specify some additional details. Okay, so multiple host names and everything you need to specify. So let's go with the basic here. And in case of error page, okay, what is the gateway type and URLs that you need to route the traffic? You can specify them here. For now, I'll say no. Okay, so this is the listener. And similarly, you need to create a backend targets. Let's go to the backend target. So as part of this backend target, okay, so here I need to choose a backend pool name. Let's say I'll choose this particular backend pool which I have created. And here, okay, HTTP settings you need to create. I haven't created any HTTP settings. Let's say I'll add it. So here you could see HTTP settings name. Let me say, I'll say, just a second. Yeah, application gateway HTTP something I'll give. And my backend pool, okay, so to my backend pools also, okay, I wanted to do the traffic on 4080. So if you see in the listener, okay, so I have configured the front end as a public IP and the traffic has to be coming on a 4080 only. But here also, okay, for my backend HTTP configuration, I'm just taking my backend pool on the HTTP itself, not the HTTPS, and the backend port, I'm just giving it as a 4080. And if you wanted to enable this additional settings, that is cookies based affinity, you can enable it. Okay, so if you wanted to have any kind of connection draining also, you can enable it. Okay, so like so that means, okay, so for how many seconds, okay, that connection has to be still stable and those things, okay, you can enable. For now I'll just say disable everything. And by default, okay, request timeout, okay, it has taken as a 20 seconds. Okay, let's say for example, if I try to access this particular server, okay, if it doesn't respond for 20 seconds, by default traffic has to be routed to the another server. Okay, if you wanted to overwrite any paths, again, you can go with it. Okay, so this additional host names stuff, okay, I'm not giving it. I'll just click on add. Now if you see, I'm done with creating a listener, I'm done with creating a backend pool. Okay, and if you wanted to route traffic on a path based rules, okay, here you need to create the path basis, that is path based routing you need to configure here. So since I'm not going with any path based, let's go ahead and click on add. Okay, now if you see, just simply remember, this is our front end, this is our back end, and in between, okay, you have this particular listener rules. Okay, and I'll say go to the tags and I'll say review and create. Okay, so it is still validating it. Once it is done, okay, we'll go ahead and create it. Okay, simply let me go to any one of the Microsoft documentation also. I'll say Azure application gateway. Okay, so here you could see. Okay, so how this is how the topic should be routed. So what I have done, okay, so I have created one front-end IP, so which users will access. So I have created one backend pool. So I haven't added any VMs or anything. So and I have created certain rules here. Okay, so to route the traffic. So if you wanted to see how to create it using a portal, so this is what we can go through. Okay, this is what I have done just now. So if you wanted to do the same thing using PowerShell, you can go ahead and do it using same PowerShell. Okay, so similarly, let me show you a demo now. I'll say Azure Application Gateway. Let me go to the images. Okay, I'll try to pick some image here. Uh, Yeah, I think this is what I have exactly configured just now. Okay, so if you keenly observe, okay, when I create an application gateway, this is an application gateway, right? So here, okay, I have created one front-end IP, and in between, okay, if you enable a web application firewall, okay, you will be having these additional steps. Okay, so firewall configuration additional step, but I just went with creating a listener and certain rules. So this listener is nothing but on which port, okay, how to listen the front-end IP, and on we have created rules on which port, okay, I have to route the traffic. As a backend pool, I can add all of these. I can add VMs, I can add VMSs, I can add on-premises VMs also, and I can add a app service, that is web app. So this I need to get to add it. So probably let's come back here, and this is also same. So let me go ahead and have some demo now. So as a backend pool, now I'm going to create a VMs itself. I'll create two VMs very quickly, and I will enable the web server also there. And I try to add those two VMs as a backend pool of my application gateway. And when I try to access these two VMs using my application gateway front-end IP, so the traffic has to be routed equally to the both the VMs. So I'll come back to the portal, and let me try to create a two VMs very quickly. I'll try to say create a VM. Okay, so here I'm going to use the same uh, region and resource code, and here I'll just simply name it as a PM01. Okay, and I'm going with this particular specific size. I'll say Azure user, and I'll give some password. Okay, and I'm moving the port, and make sure you need to use the same network, because your application gateway and the backend pool server should be in the same network. So here if you see, this is the VNet I have created, and by default it has taken a different subnet, because it will not allow you to choose the same subnet what application gateway is using. So there I have created one more subnet called application gateway subnet for creating my application gateway. And in addition to that, I have also created one more subnet called VM subnet. This is for the VMs. So let's go with these, and I'll say create it. So it is waiting for the validation. I'll say create it. Same way, let me quickly go back and create a VM2 also to add as a backend pool of my load balancer, and I will enable the web server also sample application here. And when I try to access this particular application, we'll see how the traffic is routing. I'll come back here. I'll go to my VMs back. I'll create a one more VM. Okay, let me choose the application gateway resource group, and here I'll just name it as a VM02, and I'll say Azure user, and let me provide some passwords, and make sure under networking it should be deployed in a same network. Here you could see same VNet, same subnet. I'll say create it. So now I have created two VMs as my backend pool. So now we'll see how we can route the traffic now by enabling the basic web server. So let me go to my VM1. I'll enable the web server there. This is my VM1. I'll take this IP. Let me come back here. This is my VM1, and let me take IP. Let's say RDP. I'll say connect. So let me connect with a different user. The username is Azure user. Okay, I'm logging with the VM01. So here I will enable the web server. Similarly, I will log into the VM2 also. There also I will enable the web server, and I will edit some images also, like what we have done last time, and we'll see how the traffic is routing. Okay, let me take some image here. PNG images something. Okay, I'll say some different images I'll take. Okay, I'll try to keep some different logos of Microsoft. Okay, so just for the demo, I'll keep this image and one of the thing. Let me copy this image. I'll go here. First, let me enable the web server first, then I'll do that. Let me open my PowerShell. So this is my PowerShell. So what is the command to enable the web server?
Install Windows Future.
Okay. I just enter the tab. Okay, it is waiting. Yeah. So what is the name of the feature?
Web server.
Okay, it's a web hyphen server, and which includes
Management tools.
all the management tools. Okay, so here I'm enabling the web server. So what is the folder will be created on your C drive when you enable the web server?
iNetPub.
Yep, iNetPub. So what is the folder, okay, where you have HTML documents?
www root.
Yeah, try to remember those 5 folders also. What are the remaining folders we have on your web server? Okay, we'll see that now. Okay, here I have my iNetPub. Okay, we have a temporary, and logs, history, and cluster. Okay, let me go to this folder and I'll say paste that image. I think whatever I copied is not coming. Let's say, let me try to take this image. I'll say save as. Okay, let me save it on my desktop. I'll try to copy from here. Yeah. Okay, it's the same PNG format. So I need to rename it as a IAS start only, because uh, within your HTML page, okay, you'll be having a similar name, IAS start. Okay, let me delete it and I will rename this logo with a IAS start. Okay, now I'm done with enabling this web server. Let me go to my portal. Let's see, I need to enable the port. What is the port I need to enable now to access my web server?
80.
Yeah, port 80 I need to enable. Let me name it as FTP. Okay, so how can I check my web server now?
I can copy the public IP in.
Yeah, I can access my web server on a public IP with port 80. So here I can specify the port 80. If I don't specify any IP, so it will take a default as a IP port 80 only. Okay. So here a rule is added. Sometimes it might be still loading. Here you could see it is still loading. And the basic web page what I have now should come with the image what I have pasted there. So which is still loading. Can you see my VM1 has a different uh, logo which I have mentioned as a HTML document. Okay, that it has like Microsoft Azure. Okay, so now let me go back to my VM2 also. Let me duplicate this window. I'll go to my VM2. This is my VM2. I'll close this particular browser for now. And here, let me connect to my VM2. I'll take an RDP. Okay, so let me go with a different user. The user is Azure user. And I'm logged into the VM2. Here also, okay, I will enable the web server and I will add a different image here also. Let me go with a different image like, let's go with the latest image that is, this is the latest Microsoft Azure symbol. There was a previous one, what we have seen earlier. I'll try to download this image. Okay, this is the latest logo. I'll save it. Meanwhile, I will copy it later. Let me quickly come back to my server. So which is still loading. I'll say no. Let me close all of this stuff. Let me open my Windows PowerShell and let me enter the PowerShell command. I'll say install -, Windows Future. Okay, I just entered the tab, so it is still loading. Yeah. So then, okay, so I need to give the name. So this is the argument. Okay, so the name of the Windows Future is web server. Okay, so which includes all the management tools. So here also let me go to my C drive, iNetwork folder. So I think it will be coming after some time. So here I don't have iNetwork folder yet. Let's wait for it. Meanwhile, let me copy that image here. I'll go here. This is the Azure logo. Copy it. I'll come back here. I'll paste it here in that iNetwork. So here is iNetwork. I'll go to www roots and let me paste it here. Okay, I have pasted this image. I'll delete this image and I will rename it as IIA start. So whenever my web server is starting, it will use this particular image. Let me do refresh. Yeah, so which is done. So let me delete it. I'll rename it as IIA start. Make sure the image should be in a PNG format. All right. Now to see my VM2 web server also, let me see whether the port 80 is already there here. Yeah, it is already there because both are using the same network security group. Nice. Now I'll go here. I'll copy it. I'll open it and 167. Okay, it is not copied. Sorry, I copied the VM1 IP. Now I need to copy the VM2 IP. It is 170. for the initial first time. Okay, it will take some couple of seconds. So let's wait for it. So it is still loading. Let's wait, guys, because sometimes, okay, to load this particular initial web server, right, might take some time. So I mention right name? Yes, IAS web server. Also, okay, let me try to keep it in a different browser. Let's see. I'll copy it. Shravanti, can you hear us?
Yes, RK, I can hear you. I have some internet issue, so I'm not able to connect. So I connected with my
Okay,
mobile.
all right. What happened to this? Let's see. We'll see if this particular port is not. We'll try to reshare the port again if it is not responding. Just still loading here. Maybe the kind of image what we have kept might not be supported sometimes. Okay, let me go ahead and check my ports here. I'm on a VM2. Oh, here you could see. On my VM2, I don't have a port 80, so that's the reason it is not able to see. Okay, let me add the port. Earlier I was checking on a VM1, so that was a problem. Add it. So they're using the different NSGs. Okay, rule is added. Now if I go back and do a refresh, I should be able to see the web server of my VM2 with the latest Azure logo image. Can you see here? Okay, this is my web server 2, which has a different logo, and this is my web server 1, okay, which has a different logo. Let's I'll go here. This is my web server 1. So this was the previous logo, and my web server 2 has a latest logo, that is Azure. So now what I will do is, okay, so here I have two different web servers. Okay, I wanted to add them into the backend pool of my load balancer, not load balancer application gateway. Okay, and we'll see how we can access them using the application gateway front-end IP. So here you could see it is done. It is configured properly. And now to add my VMs as a backend pool. So here another setting, I can see the backend pools. So here I have created one backend pool, but I haven't added anything here. So as a backend pool, I can add these many type of resources. Okay, so here I wanted to add a virtual machine. So when I choose the virtual machine, so here it will show you the two virtual machines, VM1 and VM2. So I'm able to see these two virtual machines because these two virtual machines are in the same network. Make sure that whenever you wanted to add a multiple back and pull resources, the load balancer or application gateway and a back and pull resources has to be in the same network. I'll add the VM1. Similarly, let me add the VM2 as well. So this is the VM2, and I'll just save it. So now if at all, if I wanted to access these web servers, okay, I can access it using my application gateway front-end IP. So this is my front-end IP. Let me copy it. Okay, so by default, okay, that traffic will be routed to the different pages. Okay, let me close it for now. So let's wait for this particular configuration to be done. I'll try to copy this IP, that is front-end IP. I'll open my window. I'll paste it. I remove this addition name, and this is my front-end IP. If at all, if I wanted to access an application which is added as a backend pool, I can access it using the front-end IP of my this particular application gateway. Let's say I click on enter. So it is giving a bad gateway. That means I think, can you see? By default, okay, traffic is routed to the VM1, and if I do refresh again, it will route the traffic to the VM2. Let's I'll come back here. So it is the configuration is still in progress. So that's the reason I'm not able to get the accurate results. If I go to backend pools, so it is showing it is added as a two VMs as a target, VM1 and VM2. Let's see it. I think on both the web server, it might be taking the same image. That could be one of the issue also. What I will do is, okay, on a VM2 web server, I will add some additional content here. I will change some header for my HTML page. I'll say this is VM02. Let's see. I'll say do refresh. Can you see? I'm getting with this is VM02 and the VM1 has a normal one. I think this images, okay, it is taking the same image for the both the web server. That could be one of the issue. Okay, so now the traffic is on a VM2, VM1. If I do refresh, okay, so traffic is routing to the VM2. Okay, so likewise, okay, so it will route the traffic to the both the VMs equally. Okay, if you wanted to get more clarity, let me do one thing. I'll log into the VM1 also. There I will add some content. I'll go here. This is my VM1. Where is my VM1? So this is my VM1. Let me copy it. I'll try to take an RDP. So here, okay, let me provide the password of it. Okay, so this is my VM1. So let me change the header. Okay, as a header here, I'll say this is my VM01. I'll save it. I'll close it. If I go to my load balancer application front-end IP, if I do refresh, okay, can you see? Now the traffic is routed to the VM1. This is my VM01. I have named it, and it is routing the traffic to the VM02. And I think it is taking the same image. Okay, can you see? Now the image got changed. So now we can observe, okay, the traffic is routing to the different servers. Okay, VM1, VM2 with the different content. Okay, this is the advantage of having this particular application gateway. But in addition here, what we can do is, okay, we can add a multiple paths. Okay, we can have a web, that is web application firewall also. And similarly, okay, we have a traffic manager. Let me quickly discuss about the traffic manager. Okay, so let me go to the traffic manager, and before that, okay, let me give you some insights about it. So till now we discussed about the load balancer, right? Okay, So load balancer also, okay, so we are routing the traffic in a same region. Okay, application gateway also, we are routing the traffic in a same region. Okay, but if at all, if you wanted to route the incoming traffic to the multiple regions, okay, we go with the traffic manager. Okay, traffic manager is a DNS based load balancer. Okay, so whereas it will route the incoming traffic to the multiple regions. Let's say if you have a two regions called east to east and west to east. Okay, if you wanted to route the traffic to the east to east as well as the west to east, different web servers, okay, we can achieve it using this particular traffic manager. And here, okay, we'll be keeping certain conditions. Okay, we'll see what is those conditions also. Let me go to the traffic manager profile here. Okay, so let me quickly create one traffic manager profile. So here, let's say I'll name it as a test. Let me keep some name. I'll keep it 2413 something. Okay, here you could see a specific FQDN will be created, and this is the method. So here, okay, we'll be keeping some conditions. The routing methods we call it as. Based on these routing methods, okay, the traffic will be routed to the multiple regions. Let's say here you could see performance, weightage, priority. Let's say I'll go with the priority one. Okay, so let me choose the resource group. I'll choose the same resource group and I'll create it. So now I just created a traffic manager. So here, okay, I'm just routing the traffic on a priority basis. So now after creating this traffic manager, I'm going to create certain endpoints. Okay, based on those endpoints, okay, the traffic will be routed to the regions. Let's say I'll go here. I'll go to the documentation also, Azure Traffic Manager, docs. Okay, if I go here, if I see overview page, so this is what it is. Okay, so let's say, okay, you are one of the application might be in some different region, and here you could see it is in a USTS and it is in a different base to route. So we can route the incoming traffic to the equally to the multiple backend pool servers. Okay, so we have to create one certain endpoints. So let's go ahead and see here. I think here, let me do refresh, and here you could see I have a traffic manager. So let me click on this traffic manager. Now here, so I need to configure this particular endpoints. Let me go to my endpoint here. So as an endpoint here, okay, I'm going to choose, let's say I'll choose like a Azure endpoint itself, and I'll just name it as a VM01 something. If you wanted to test it, probably you can go ahead and create a one more VM in a different region, and you can just try to, see, let's say I'll go here. I'll go to my VMs. Do I have any VMs in a different region? These are the two VMs which are in a East US, right? Let's say I have one more VM which is in a Southeast Asia. Let's see how I can route the traffic to my VM1 to Southeast Asia also. So I'll log into this VM. Let's say I'll go here. Okay. So I can also enable the web server, okay, without logging to the VM also, right? You know how to do it? I can go to this run command, and here I can take the, first I need to start the VM. Sorry, VM is in a shutdown mode. From here also I can execute the PowerShell commands which I wanted to execute. So meanwhile, let me add a port here, port 80. I'll add a port. I'll take the port 80. Let's see the status of my VM. So here if you see, I have two VMs. Okay, here also I'm going to enable the web server. One VM is in a East to East and another VM is in a Southeast Asia. And we'll see how I can route the traffic using my traffic manager. Okay, by creating certain endpoints. So now my VM is up and running. So without logging to the VM, I wanted to enable the web server. So here I can go to the run command. I can run the PowerShell script here. So what is the command here? Install iPhone Windows Future. Okay, so name of the future is web server. Okay, so which includes all. I think better let me copy paste the command, or else I think I have it right. Let me take it from here. because it is not automated PowerShell terminal, right? Okay, wherein if I give a tab, okay, it will not autofill. Okay, so this is the command, I'll say run it. So now without logging to the VM, okay, now I can see I can enable this particular web server. So now here I'm taking a VS Code VM as my Southeast Asia, and I have one more VM, okay, in East US, that is VM01. So let's go ahead and add it here. I'll go with the cloud services. So here I'll go with the public IP. So here I need to give the public IP cannot be associated with the traffic manager endpoint, because my traffic manager works on a DNS based authentication, right? The VMs and VS Code IPs, whatever I have, they do not have any DNS. Let's see how to do it. Okay, I'll duplicate this window. Okay, so let's see the output. Meanwhile, I'll go to the VM1 public IP. So let's say click on VM1. So this is the IP, public IP, right? Click on it. Okay, can you see this DNS name label? So it do not have any DNS name label. So you should have a DNS name label if at all, if you wanted to add this into the uh, traffic manager, because traffic manager works on a DNS based. Okay, here I'm adding some DNS label for my public IP. I'll say save it. Same way, I'll go to my another VM where I was using, that is VS Code. I will add the DNS label for this also. I'll go to this public IP and let me add, I'll say VS Code VM. It is present, and this DNS label should be unique, by the way. Now, if I go back here, I'm able to see that. Okay, let me do refresh. Let's see the output here in the meanwhile. It is still executing the script. Here you could see it is in progress. And this is also done. Now, if I come back and do a refresh, okay, I need to create certain endpoints now. Let me add an endpoint. So as an endpoint, I'm going to take the VM's public IP. I'll go with Azure endpoint itself. I'll just name it as a VM01. Let me choose Azure endpoint. I'll name it as a VM01. Okay, here I will take the public IP, and here I need to use the public IP. Can you see? Can be associated with the traffic manager endpoint. Okay, I'm getting VM01 and VS Code VM IP because I have enabled the DNS for them. Okay, so now let me choose it VM1, and I'm giving the high priority. I'll say add it. Similarly, I'll go ahead and add one more endpoint here. Same, I'll go with it, and I'll say, one second, guys. Let me give some different name here, and I'll go with the public IP, and here I will choose the VS Code ones, and I will give the 2 priority. So when I try to access these 2 web servers, so whatever the highest priority I have, okay, the traffic will be routed to this particular web server. Okay, to access them again, okay, here you could say I have enabled the web server also. Let me test this web server whether it is working or not. I'll go here, I'll copy this IP, I'll put it here just to check it. Yes, it is working. Now to test this particular thing, I'll come back to my traffic manager. I'll go to the overview page, and here I need to copy this DNS name. Copy it. Let me close it. I'll open a new window. I'll paste it. So by default, okay, the traffic has to be routed to the VM1, which is in a ESTS, because I have given a highest priority. So now what I will do is I will go ahead and change the priority, because okay, so here okay, I'm using the traffic manager FQDN. Now let's say I'll go here. So this is the priorities, right? Okay, if I go to the endpoints, so I'll make my another VM which is in a Southeast Asia. Okay, it is still coming as a checking endpoint. Why? It should be online. Fine. I'll try to change this endpoints priorities. Let's see. Okay, I'll say I'll click on it. I'll change the priority to 3 first, and this priority I will make it as a 1, because okay, the same priorities having 2 will not allow. So that's the reason I just made it as a 3 first. Then I'm making changes. Hold on. Which I did. Okay, here itself I did one now. Okay, one second. Let me do one thing. I'll delete them and I'll recreate it. Instead of deleting, okay, you can just change the priority, but I just delete it. Okay, here I'll go with the endpoint. This I will name it as VS Code VM, right? Okay, and here I will choose the target resource as a public IP, and here I will choose the VS Code IP, and I'm giving the priority 1. Same way, now I will add a one more VM1, which is in a East to S, and I will give the priority as a 2. So I'll go with it. I'll say VM01. I'll go with the public IP, and I will choose a VM1 IP, and I'm giving the priority 2. So now when I try to access this particular traffic manager FQDN, by default, the traffic has to be routed to the VM2 because I have given the highest priority to this particular VM, that is VS Code VM. Let's test it now. If I go here, if I do refresh, the traffic has to be routed to the another VM, another web server. Let's close it. I'll try to copy it and paste it again. Sometimes, okay, you might be having some cache, so that's where it will not allow you to give you the output. Can you see? The traffic is routed to the another server which is in a Southeast Asia, not in a ESTS. Okay, now what I will do is let me try to change the priority. I'll go to my endpoints. So I'll make my VM1 as the highest priority. So before that, let me change the priority of my VS Code because it has a one priority, right? It will not allow you to do the same thing at once. Now, let me go to my endpoints. I'll make my VM1 as 1, priority 1. Let's come back here. It has to be 2. If it is 3, it will not accept. Let's make it as a 2. So this time what I have done, so VM1 I made it as a high priority, VS Code I made it as a second priority. Let me go back and do refresh. I think here it has some cache. Let me copy and close it and reopen it. Can you see? By default, again, traffic is routed to the another server, which is an ESTS. Okay, so that is how we can route the traffic to the multiple regions by using the traffic manager based on certain conditions. Okay, so if you wanted to change the condition, so here you could see the routing method. So just now we have kept the priority, right? Whatever the highest priority I'm keeping, okay, the traffic is routing to that particular web server. So we can keep the performance, weightage, geographic, multi-value, and subnet. Okay, based on this region, okay, routing methods, okay, the traffic will be routed. Okay, so these are the different load balancing concepts. So probably you can just go ahead and do the labs, and similarly you can just go with Azure front door also. Okay, you can just say Azure front door. Azure front door also works on a similar way. Okay, whereas like this also route the traffic to the multiple backend pools in a multiple regions, and in addition it also have the application gateway features, whereas okay we can have a WAF and SSL offloading and additional features. Okay, you can go ahead and test it, okay, routing the traffic using the Azure front door also. Okay, for configuring the Azure front door, the similar configuration you will be having. Okay, so when I go to the configuration page, so front end IP, that is front end, backend pool, and the routing rules. So these are the only 3 steps, okay, you will be having for each and every load balancing concept. Okay, go ahead and do this. So if you're having any difficulty, we'll discuss tomorrow. So with that, I'm stopping my recording here.